Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you, Kathleen. Good morning, everyone. We're going to begin with, of course, today we're celebrating Thanksgiving a bit early, of course, but this is our Thanksgiving chapel. So we're going to sing a couple of hymns that we don't often sing, that Thanksgiving hymns. And the first one is hymn 24, We Plow the Fields and Scatter. And I'm going to ask Mrs. Daniel to play through the entire first verse and chorus. So it'll take a few minutes, but just relax and listen, and then we'll stand and sing. You can do that. Very nice. Thank you. Please be seated. We have a very special guest this morning, and I'm going to invite Will Mann to come forward, please, to introduce him.
Morning, everyone. My name is Will Mann, and I'm here to introduce one of the most dedicated humans I've ever met. His name is Reverend Al. Rev Al founded the Victoria Dandelion Society in 2011 as, quote, a way for him to carry his work on the front lines into the future. Rev Al wakes up every morning before the sun rises, before the birds start chirping, and before the dew arises to hit the streets of Victoria and to provide the street community with coffee, cookies, and cigarettes. But more importantly, he always offers a hand to hold, ear to listen, or shoulder to lean on for the struggling community he supports. For me, personally, Growing up and currently living in Portland, Oregon, I have been immersed in a city that has a large street community. My whole life, I have listened to people around me constantly complain about the street community and how they need to be extradited out of the city. However, I never thought of them as a burden on myself or as people that are a nuisance to society. I never felt angry at any of them or wished they weren't in my city. Instead, I've hoped for them. Hope for them to get out of their slump in life and get back on their feet, walking, running, and eventually sprinting and taking life head on. It saddens me that so many people are so quick to assume that these people are drug users or they induce this pain on themselves, and therefore they aren't treating them as humans. But they are. They all have beautiful souls, and these people are just simply out of their luck. We have no idea what these people have gone through prior to us seeing them on the streets of Victoria, Canada, and around the world. But it is our duty as citizens of this day and age to reach out to these people and to offer a hand, not to reject them. As a Shawnigan community, we have started doing our part this year in helping that community down in Victoria out. Last year, Mr. Ducalo started the initiative coined Wake Up Wednesday. It offers an opportunity for you guys and girls to sidecar with Reverend Al to the streets of Victoria on one of those Wednesday mornings. You leave the flagpole at 4:30 a.m. and arrive in Victoria at 5:30. Rev Al has done this every day for 9 years. And the least we can do as a community is support them in once a week. Now, before I introduce him, I'd like to end with a quote that I believe truly embodies Rev Al and the life he has led and the life he will continue to lead for the rest of his time. It's a quote from Mother Teresa. At the end of life, we will not be judged by how many diplomas we have received, how much money we have made, how many great things we have done. We will be judged by, I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was homeless, and you took me in. Without further ado, Reverend Al.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you just so much for inviting me. I arrived, I parked my car somewhere, and a guy came up and in one of those little green things, he said, "You're lost." And I sort of was lost, you know. And I said, "Yeah." And so he brought me to the cafeteria. And honestly, when I went in there, I just thought that I walked into a Harry Potter movie, honestly. You know? Now, that wasn't bad, but a young man came up to introduce himself, and he introduced himself as Harry. That's a little creepy. Before I begin, I'm a Christian theologian, and I don't mean to offend anyone here that has a different faith than me. I'm very liberal and very open and acceptable of all faiths, and I just wanted to say that, and I not mean by my language that I'll use over the top to offend anyone. I feed the poor on the street and they call me a saint. I ask why the poor are hungry in this city of affluence and wealth, and they call me a communist. The words of Oscar Romero. Oscar Romero was shot to death while delivering communion in El Salvador. He was a champion of the poor. But I want to give you the words of another champion, another hero, Jean Vanier. If you don't know the name, look it up in your Wikipedia. He is a Canadian hero. And he writes these words. "We are a community together," he writes. "The better we take care of the weakest thread in the fabric of our community, the stronger the community will be. The stronger the city will be, the province will be, or the country will be. The more we trample down the poor, oppress them, the more we will weaken our country. It is like a cancer, he writes, eating at the very hope and soul of who we are as Canadians. I come here to this lovely spot as your guest. I'm not asking for your socks today. I'm not asking for your blankets today. I come today asking for your hearts. I come asking for your action to eradicate poverty in this province and indeed in this country. I come not seeking your help. I come seeking your solidarity. I come asking not for you to stand for the poor. I come here today asking you to stand with the poor. I come seeking justice, not just us. I am a liberal theologian, as I said earlier. I have been influenced first and foremost by the greatest theologian I've met in my life, my mother. Then followed by Paul Tillich, Douglas Hall, John Spong, and Karl Marx. I grew up in this capital of our great country here, Ottawa. My single mother raised myself and my three sisters on the meager crumbs that fell from the rich man's table, welfare. I well remember as a child, the closer we got to welfare, the less food that was in the cupboard. I remember one day particularly on my knees praying to God that maybe there would be some food in the cupboard for my three sisters in the morning, if not for myself. I got up, eager, ran down the stairs, looked in the cupboards, and they were empty. You know what I did? I went to the marketplace, and I stole a loaf of bread. I stole a jar of peanut butter, and I stole some eggs. And I went back to my house, and I put it in the cupboard so my mother and my sisters would eat the next morning. I'm going to ask you, who was a thief in the night that day? Was it that snotty, low-nosed kid that ran and stole a loaf of bread? Or was it our government that refused to give them enough money to eat, that family? Poverty, make no mistake, is legislated. We determine what we give our poor on welfare. They make less money on welfare than the poverty line, and that's true. We need a guaranteed annual income for every Canadian. I'm well educated, a Bachelor of Science from Carleton University, a Bachelor of Arts from Carleton University, a Master of Systematic Theology from McGill University. And recently, I received an honorary social work arts degree, Master of Arts of Social Work, from the University of Victoria for my work on the street. I was ordained by the United Church of Canada in 1979. That was 40 years ago. I'm not 29. I wish I was, though. The day I was ordained, my poor mother called me aside. It was in a chapel, something like this. It was a much bigger one. And she tapped me on the shoulder. I was waiting in line to be ordained, you know. And she tapped, and I turned around, it was her. And she said to me, "Remember always where you came from." I'm proud to say that I have served the poor across this country. I'm proud to say that I have given them my life. I'm proud to say that I am in solidarity with them. Now I'm going to read a little story from my daily journal to you all. I was told there was a man behind a dumpster just past Rock Bay, where some of you know that have joined me, is the first stop we make there. Some of you remember the dumpsters there. That he was laying there. I left my car on Ella Street and I walked to the dumpster. It was pouring rain. The rain was continually for about 3 days. I looked around and I just couldn't see him. I was just about to give up when I turned around and saw something move. It was the young man. I knelt down beside him. An old piece of cardboard covered his face. I took off the cardboard. He was covered with scars on his face. His lip was broken. Blood had run down his chin to his chest. He was cold, shivering. I knew his drug of choice was crystal meth. He'd probably been up for days, been in the dumpster digging around, and just finally fell asleep. They just finally cannot stay up any longer. It was dark and I was a little worried to leave him there, but I knew I wasn't strong enough to carry him. So I left him, went down to my van, got the van, drove the van back, turned on both of my high beam lights, and he was easy to see. I put him in the van. Probably I saved his life that morning. I wish I could tell you, though, that he's doing well. Boy, I wish this could move around. I just have a hard time standing still. I wish I could tell you that he was doing well. But in actual fact, this past summer, he took 3 more overdoses, and on one of them came close to dying. The work on the street is often not pretty. It's often dangerous. It's literally carrying the cross of Christ. I have buried many, 3 individuals every week this past summer. Of course I need your blankets. Of course I need your sleeping bags. I need your socks. But what I'm asking this day is your hearts for the poor. Thank you to all of the students that joined me and had the courage to come out in the morning, get up at that god-awful hour. You are, all of you, my brothers and sisters. And to all of you students that have signed up to come and join me one morning, I'm looking forward to meeting you and telling you my silly jokes and getting you to hug the odd tree now and then. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Reverend Al. It's really rare that we get an opportunity to hear someone speak with the authority that you have, because you have really lived this life for so long. So we just really appreciate your presence here, and we appreciate the work you do. And I think we especially appreciate your openness to having us join you on Wednesday mornings. And I know that some of you are going, what is this on Wednesday mornings? And if you're interested, please do talk to Mr. Ducalo. The line to go to Victoria and join Reverend Al on Wednesday mornings is getting longer and longer because it's such a rare and really amazing opportunity. So thank you. You're changing the lives of our students, and we really appreciate you. So thank you.
I've got to do something here.
So we are going to take a collection as you leave the chapel this morning. There'll be baskets, and I think if maybe after this you're thinking, I wish I'd brought more money, because we'll be passing that collection on to Reverend Al for his work. So we'll also give you the opportunity in your houses to contribute to that, the money to help Reverend Al do what he does. Thank you all again. Have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. On another note, when you get back, we're going to celebrate the Feast of St. Francis with a blessing of the animals. So when you're home over Thanksgiving, maybe you could get a picture of one of your beloved pet or pets and bring them back, and we'll incorporate those into our blessing of the animals when we get back. And we will end with the hymn number 24. No, hymn number 23. Come ye thankful people, come. Hymn number 23. And again, we'll listen, just sit and we'll listen to Mrs. Daniel play us through the first verse. Thank you all. Have a good day. Please be seated for a moment, and I'll invite the headmaster to come up.
Some of you might have just noticed probably the greatest catch ever taken in chapel then by Mrs. Miranda. Thanks for sort of throwing yourselves into two hymns there that are a little challenging and a little unfamiliar, and great that you commit to those hymns as you did. Thanks, Will, wherever you are, for giving that introduction to Rev Al, beautifully scripted and beautifully delivered. And thanks, Rev Al, for coming up and joining us this morning and giving such a compelling address, asking for our hearts, and certainly from all that I hear, leading by example. We really appreciate that you've come up this morning. I'm interested. Please put your hand up if you've done Wake Up Wednesday, and I'm asking that of students and staff. Keep your hands up. Put your hand up if you were part of the mustard seed with Mr. Pollock. Keep your hands up if you did the first one, and if you joined Mr. Pollock as well on that. And put your hand up if you're involved in community service at the school as well. Thank you. Please put your hands up. As the Rev alluded, we have a sign-up list for staff for the Wake Up Wednesdays, and we've already filled up this academic year, and there's a waiting list developing for next academic year. So I very much appreciate all those staff and students who commit to community service. We just have to draw a radius around our own school here, and there's so much service needed in our local community, and it's great that members of our community at Shawnigan step forward to support the local community. This morning we've invited all members of our community to donate, and wonderful seeing students coming in with huge sack loads to give to those who are less privileged than ourselves. It's also an opportunity for me to stand here the day before we have a break, really to say well done for such a strong start to the academic year and for making it to the Thanksgiving weekend in good heart. We've got a little bit of way to go, but there's a lot to reflect on, from classroom challenges to new friendships, from inter-house competitions to community gatherings. Thanksgiving is a relatively new concept for me as a Brit, but I keep coming back to it's the idea of developing a generosity of spirit and a daily sense of gratitude. It's not just an annual sense of gratitude, and building that into our lives. For many of you, this term has been a step, and for some a stride into the unknown, and I'm sure you appreciate the support and kindness you have received on the path so far. I was in San Francisco yesterday meeting parents at lunchtime, and they were actually 2 days ago. And at the dinner, and there were prospective parents there, they all spoke to the incredible level of support their children receive from our staff here. It was last Saturday, I believe, World Teachers' Day, and I do just want to take this moment before we step into the Thanksgiving weekend for the students to express their support and their daily sense of gratitude to our wonderful staff at Shawnigan. I'd love to hear you give them a round of applause. I think we all know they take very, very good care of you. And we're looking forward this evening to our kitchen staff delivering a wonderful Thanksgiving dinner, a great opportunity for us to have conversation, break bread together, and thoroughly enjoy ourselves. And I'd like to invite Rev Al and Mr. Ducolo to lead us out of chapel this morning as a sign of respect from Shawnigan. Please stand.